I'm watching you talk from like a minute
I
ago.
think we're live, maybe. It looks like we're live.
It says setting up your meeting for Facebook Live.
Nice.
What do we got? All right. Yes, I see the screen. Jeff, I see the screen, and I'm going to pull up my Zoom screen over here. And we are now officially live. Ladies and gentlemen, actually no ladies, except for one that I mistakenly led into the group today who wants single dads to ask questions, but we might have to make her walk. Well, she might have to walk the plank.
Walk the plank.
I like that. She might have to walk the plank.
That's
no
awesome.
offense to you, but this is a men's group and we want to help, but this is a men's group. We'll have her walk the plank later on.
Make it work.
Yeah. So guys, I want to welcome over here anybody that's watching right now. We have Jeff Lamberts from Michigan, Detroit.
Grand Rapids, other side of the state.
Shows how much I know.
That's all right. Close enough.
That's fine. And guys, I'm really excited to have him on today. Last week we had Donnie Hall, who is a coach, and now we have Jeff, who is I would say Jeff is bringing a lot to the table about health, health management and gut health and stuff like that. So we're just gonna have a discussion. Feel free, you guys, to pop in with questions whenever you want. Say hello. We might see them because there's a bit of a lag. Jeff might see it before. So, Jeff, you can shout out to everyone, say hello. And I want to start off with this. So I want to start off the talks here, and I want to bring up the fact that we're all on lockdown. Obviously, we all know that we're on lockdown. And I think that, in the foreseeable future, and maybe now, a lot of us are going to be struggling with potential bouts of depression, potential bouts of just feeling down on ourselves, down about the situation. I know that I personally had a pretty difficult day today with my, I've been for 6 days, I've been with my children, and I love it, and it's a blessing, and I'm so happy to have that. But it can be tiring, and energy is obviously so important, and I think more than ever, our ability to create energy, positive energy, is so key, especially now that we're in the house for so many days. So, hey, Jeff.
I'm here. We're dealing with the same thing. It doesn't matter where you are globally right now. Everything is just it's in a very unique place. It's in a very interesting place that I don't think any of us have ever seen. I was trying to go through with a friend the other day and think of like when we've ever had a major outbreak that's resulted in this level of shutdown. And there have been a handful of scares with the last 20 or 30 years, but it's never resulted in you really can't leave your house. I mean, a friend of mine messaged me last night coming back from Indianapolis up to Detroit to pick something up in Detroit, or they were doing something, a business related thing to keep their business afloat. They got pulled over by state police and issued a $500 citation for being out of state to head to a different part of the country to keep their business afloat, sacrificing their time and energy, and now they have to pay $500 because of the decision they made. So it's a crazy, chaotic time right now, and it doesn't. I don't know. There's a lot of wild stuff going on right now.
So wait, let me get this straight. They were fined $500. First off, that's a higher fine than anyone I know has been fined here in Israel. They are fining people if they're outside of 100 meters, but wow, that's a big fine. And I mean, you have any idea what the business was? Because I know that they're allowing essential workers and stuff like that to do their work.
I don't remember. It was like the cousin of one of my friends down in Indianapolis. She used to be one of my largest customers when I was in the transportation game. And we used to do a lot of freight and moving for her. She worked for an international company, but it was her cousin was coming up to Detroit, and I don't remember what it was, but it was one of these small businesses. You have 50 employees, and you're doing everything that you can to keep the business afloat, including including keeping things alive, making people, doing everything you can to keep your employees employed, doing everything you can to keep your business alive. If it's a $10 million a year business, you just hit 10 million, you have this growth, and all of a sudden you cannot do any business. So,
Yeah.
and like, what are you supposed to do? So I don't
Yeah,
know exactly what it was. So
it's interesting for here in Israel that we have about 1 million people that are officially unemployed. I think it's more than that. We're talking about a country with a population of 11 million. Okay.
wow.
And they are keeping a lot of the high tech companies are still working. They're working under, certain restrictions, such as, everyone's wearing masks and gloves. They're keeping 2 meters away from each other. They're also allowing essential workers, which are, plumbers, other sorts of anybody involved in the building industry are also working right now.
Hmm.
And so we do have that, but clearly, we've been it's been pretty difficult with a lot of people being, laid off. And I know that the mother of my children, and my ex-wife, they've given her a 20%, I believe, pay cut during this time.
Mm-hmm.
So what's happened is that, sorry about that, I'm just closing the window here. So what's happened is that what's happened is a lot of the companies have, given people less time, try to keep them on the payroll still, but somehow are able to, cut down on the expenses
Right.
of the companies. And that's what we have going on. Actually, I wanted to mention, interestingly enough, is that our government has said, well, they're going to rule on it tonight, that they're going to be allowing certain businesses to reopen again, but under certain strict measures, such as electrical appliance, certain types of other stores but they're only allowed a certain amount of people inside at a time. But they're trying to do what they can to help the economy move forward. But who knows? We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see where that goes in a couple of weeks.
Are they requiring folks to wear masks then if they're going out and doing anything? Is that a requirement there in Israel, or is that more of a strong suggestion?
No, that's right now. I believe that they passed a law. Listen, I believe they passed a law that people have to be wearing masks. Funny enough, I was just, me and my daughters were outside on Saturday,
Mhm.
and you had trucks there. We had not trucks, but there was the local police or the local enforcement driving by. He actually was yelling at me with his microphone, telling me to, where you over there is running. Where is your mask? And
Wow.
yeah.
No
So
kidding.
yeah, but listen, again, they do it. They did it. They were doing it on a Saturday.
Mhm.
Okay, because again, the space where I'm living right now, a lot of high-rise buildings, and I like to call it the hive. There's a lot of people in a small amount of space.
Okay.
And when it's a sunny, gorgeous day like it is right now, and Saturday, people want to get out and people come out of their house.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
whether people are following the 100-meter rule or not following the 100-meter rule, there's still a good amount of people out. There was actually a day about a week, this was actually about a week ago that they that they were kicking people off the streets. The cars were going around there, and they had they'll have policemen going around, and they had some help from kids in the army and telling people to go home. I actually just finished up a skateboarding round with my kids, and then we went home. But yeah, that's they're doing what they can. What's it like in Michigan?
It's quite a bit different. You mentioned 100 meters there, and I don't know exact conversion. I think a meter is 3 feet approximately. We have a minimum 6-foot rule. So it's essentially the height of my body. That's how far we're supposed to be apart from people, which is extremely small compared to 100 meters. So maybe I heard you wrong.
Apart from people, 2
Yeah.
meters.
Oh,
2
2
meters apart
about
from
the same.
people.
About the
But
same.
I'm talking 100 meters was away from your home.
Oh, yeah. So we don't have a restriction on that. They've started to tighten things down, but our governor here in Michigan was on the, if you're familiar, the show is called Good Morning America. It's nationwide. I think it's broadcast out of New York, one of the major networks there, and talking about, from what I hear, we are one of the more strict states as far as the the requirements or the limitations rather, of what we can and cannot do, how many people in a particular area. We don't have any laws or anything passed to my knowledge about wearing a mask out in public, but it's the last time I went to the local supermarket was probably Wednesday, and I think, let's say there were 50 people, and this is a major chain. Think Walmart level. Everybody knows Walmart, so I use it as a reference. About the size of Walmart, but it's a Midwest, Michigan, Ohio, a couple of like 5-6 states. And out of the, let's say 50 people there were probably 4 of us that didn't have masks on. And that was really it. I mean, everybody is really gloves, masks, really doing the best that they can. For some reason, I just don't understand the whole toilet paper thing. I mean, now we're at risk of running out of it, but it doesn't make any sense to me because it has nothing, it's not protecting your hand. I mean, it is your hands when you're doing your business, but it's just, I can't believe they actually have the aisle closed off because there was nothing there. There's nothing there. They open it up for a couple hours in the morning when they get a new truck in. And by the time you go in, if it's after 10 a.m., there's nothing left. I don't get it. How many people really need that much toilet paper? I mean, I don't even know. It doesn't make any sense to me, but there's, you're not supposed to be outside around other people. They have been, I've heard some people getting the story I just mentioned, but if you live in the area, you can go outside of 100 meters of your home. I drive 2 or 3 times a week. I go out and I go and I find a park that I go to and I run, because it's been a big part of my life lately, just to help with keep the mental duress down. I mean, you can only be locked in a home for so long and you just have to get out. And I go out and I went probably, I don't know, 50-60 miles away from my home yesterday and found a remote area and ended up just running on this trail that was really secluded and remote, and I think there was one other person there that I saw.
Those are the best. Trail running. I'm all about trail running. Yeah, we got Eric. Didn't mean to cut you off there. Just wanted to say hello to Eric Haber. Eric, what's up, brother? I just saw your message about 8 minutes ago. Okay. This is for you guys. Send in your questions. Say hello. This is inclusive. This is a conversation with everyone together. It's just that on my screen I can't see your messages. I think that Jeff might be able to.
Let me open this up. Give me a second while I mute this line here, and then I'm going to open it up so I can see them.
Yeah, Jeff. You want to take a look at that? If you got 2 screens, then you'll be able to see whoever wants to say it. But yeah, Eric, if you are watching, this is a conversation. Join in.
Eric, I see you. Yep, we're good. Yeah. I'll see them now as they come in. I'll do my best to respond to them here. So I think, I can see them as they come in, and we'll kind of mention them. If you can hear me, I unmuted, right?
I hear you.
Cool. We're at least somewhat tech advanced, right?
Yeah. So again, guys, if you want to tune in with whatever questions you want, we're here. Yeah. It's a discussion, questions, whatever it is that you want to put out there.
So one of the biggest things I just want to keep going on that real quick is just the number of people you're supposed to be. No, initially it was groups of 50 or less, and then it was groups of 10 or fewer, and then now it's no fewer than immediate family. And then I've seen I mostly participate in Facebook, but there are some other social media channels that I'm on. Twitter is not one of them, but I did see. We all know the Avengers movies. Well, the guy who played Thanos, I can't think of his name right now. Well, he lives next door to his parents, also celebrity actors. And he posted a photo or something on Twitter yesterday, and he got major backlash from people saying he was being stupid for visiting his parents in this time of quarantine. And it's like, you know what I mean? People are just lashing out because they want to get back to normal, whatever normal is. And I don't think normal will ever be what it was, knowing what we know now and how it's going to do moving forward. But there's certain states that have certain laws. I mean, our school shut down 4 weeks ago. I have a day job. I haven't been to my day job in probably 5 weeks. I hadn't had any appointments or anything. It's just all been Zoom. It's been FaceTime, Skype, whatever I can to get in front of people and host small meetings similar to what we're doing here. But mine is in home improvement. My day job is in home improvement. It requires me to take measurements, visit the locations. And so there's, 24 things that are going to happen as soon as this requirement lifts within the first couple weeks. But everything is just kind of at a standstill. There's remote educational learning programs for children. I don't think my son has seen any of his friends in probably over a month, other than FaceTime, and he's got group chats with all of his classmates. And
Yeah.
in middle school, you go to a variety of different classes throughout the day. But having a teenager at this time is definitely trying for the patience, for sure. And you would think a teenager would have a little bit more of an understanding of things that they could do throughout the day, whether it's productive, educational, or just doing something to keep themselves busy. But I've so many
Yeah.
times, and everybody, like I said, I let them know that I'm doing this live. I would not be surprised to hear somebody bounding down the stairs and that door back there to pop open at some point. Hey, you got something for me to do? And it's like, so it's
Yeah, so
definitely a
this is the
lot of,
beauty of it. This is the part of it, man. This is part of being in the flow, is that this is what's happening, bro. If you can have your Zoom meeting and your kids
yeah.
can get into the room, this is real life. I mean, it's
Mhm.
expected and it's okay, and no one is
Yeah,
gonna hold you account. No one's gonna. You're not. This is what's going on right now.
sure.
My kids are telling me they're jumping into meetings while while their mom is on a conversation with her with her boss.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah, same
and
thing.
so that's
Mhm.
this is what's happening. So
Yeah.
it's no biggie. So yeah, so I want to go back to one thing over here. Number one, I also agree. I don't think things will never be the same because things are always changing.
Yep.
But this is unprecedented.
Mhm. Yeah.
This has happened before, but nothing like this on this level. Thankfully, it's not. Again, there are people out there dying, but that it's not the Spanish flu.
Right.
What I do want to mention is the fact that we are going to likely be, and I think that a lot of us are going to be working out of our house. A lot of us are going to be home much more.
Mhm.
I personally think it's going to be, at least a year plus. Who knows how long this is going to go for? So it's going to be really, really important that we need to keep the vibes up, keep our energy up, that we need to stay happy, healthy, fit, as best as we can
Right.
with what we have. I know how monotonous and how situations can easily, people don't see the light at the end of the tunnel. And what I want to do is I want to kind of step into the conversation a little bit about what we can do, what we can do here to keep the vibes up. That's what I like to say. To keep the high energy, to keep the feelings as positive as possible. And I'm sure there's a ton of stuff that we can do. And Jeff, I'd be more than happy if you want to start sharing with us a little bit about talk about being happy, the happy chemical, what it is that we can, what it is that we can do.
Well, there's key elements here, and when you mention happiness, everybody usually thinks about the complete opposite of that is just ongoing chronic sadness or depression, whether it's diagnosed or undiagnosed. But a lot of us know the feelings. A lot of us, I'm guessing, in this group have experienced that at least to some level before, and going through what we've gone through, in that we're single dads helping single dads in this group. We're no longer with our partners who were elemental in bringing the children that we have into this world, whether it was an ex-wife or an ex-girlfriend or fiance, or it was just somebody that you were with and things happen and whatever the case is. But you go through it in dealing with the custody or trying to figure all of it out. Serotonin is really the key element. It's essentially known as the happiness element, or the happy mood elevator. There's a number of different terms for it. And one of the things that I feel so many people immediately turn to with situations of this, like depression and these feelings, they want to get into, and I think a lot of people are realizing, probably hopefully over the last 5-10 years or so, that antidepressants might be the answer if you have a chronic situation. But in going through what you're going through personally, and I'm not a therapist, a psychologist, a psychiatrist, anything like that, but for me and my experience with them in the past and going through what I went through, from 5 years ago until about 2 years ago when I finally got off of everything with a new doctor, it was not the answer. It just, in everything that it did to my body and my personality, outside of helping me deal with the symptoms and the situation that I was going through. One of the cheapest ways you can do it is just physical exercise, man. We talked for a minute about it, that for you, it's, I don't know how critical it is in your life, but the way that I've seen your photos, you look like you're somebody who works out on a regular basis. We talk about these things. I'll show you my baby there.
Yeah.
It's critical. I mean, I just spent 45 minutes outside before we jumped on here playing basketball with my son. And I have a routine 6 days a week. On Monday and Thursday, I go out and I have a high intensity interval training. I have an app that I work on, and it's anywhere between 25 and 45 minutes of just hit workout. And it's just go anywhere.
Everyone's been talking about that, man. That's been a big one.
Well, I don't
I've
have
been hearing
access to
about
a
that one.
gym. I don't have access to weight. I have 10-pound weights in here that are just, they've been around for 100 years. You know what I mean? And I can use them. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll add those weights if I'm doing crunches, or like, if you're familiar with tee-up planks, where you're on the plank and then you kind of shift your body like this and you're on one arm and then you raise up. It's a big core workout. I'll grab the 10-pound weight and then add, you know what I mean? You throw 10 extra pounds onto what you're already doing just with your body, and then tightening your core. It's just natural calisthenic workouts that we all grew up doing, where you're doing squats, you're doing burpees, you're doing pull-ups, you're doing chin-ups, you're doing push-ups, you know what I mean? Sit-ups, crunches, leg lifts, leg raises, and you'd be surprised at the amount of intensity of the workout that you can get just using your own body weight without having to throw 150 pounds or 300 pounds on a bar. Now there's
Bro,
nothing.
we love doing that.
I love
There's
throwing
a
weight on a
special
bar.
high that we get from pushing the heavy weights. I mean,
I love
that's
that, man. I
that's a
absolutely
good
do.
one.
Don't get me
Yeah.
wrong. I don't think anybody really has access to a gym unless you have it in your home or you have
Right.
outdoor equipment. And absolutely, I'm 100% on board with that. But for me and the time frame, and you know a little bit about the crazy chaotic schedule that I keep and just constantly moving, to be able to wake up in the morning when I wake up, have my routine where I meditate, do my devotions, I read, and then I have my workout. I don't have to leave. Like, I have essentially a 2-hour morning routine every day, and I don't have to leave the house. I don't have to worry about travel time. And I'm listening to my podcast while I'm doing it. And I'm not as fit as you. I'm not as big as you. But I've in the last, since January 1st, I've gone from like 186 pounds. I'm floating around 168 right now, just with the HIIT workouts, and then eating better, healthier foods. And I feel better than I ever have. I've noticed, and here's a huge bonus, guys, before we had quarantine, man, I started to get eyeballs from women that I was like, these women are way out of my league. There's no way. You know what I mean? It's like you feel more confident when you feel better about your body.
Absolutely.
And you're continuously working out. That is the cheapest, one of the most effective mental health things that you can do is physical exercise.
Yeah.
It's said time and time again. It doesn't cost you anything most of the time, and you get the physical benefits out of it. And then when you're avoiding taking like antidepressants, now don't get me wrong, some people need them. You're not getting any of those negative side effects as long as you're doing a right amount of exercise, because you can push it too hard and then you get injured.
So I definitely, that's a big topic right there, is the antidepressants. I was in a relationship, and I knew someone, that was going through that, and I was close to them while they were getting off of that, and first of all, I was amazed, and I'm super proud of them for doing that, because to see what the going cold turkey on antidepressants does is fucked.
Oh no!
Like not taking the pill for a day and you're just dizzy and throwing up, and it's unbelievable. I mean, what I think is crazy that they're that they're giving it to people, and then they're like, okay, that's it. Like, go home.
They're not even thinking about it. They're just like, here you go. It might take a month to kick in, but this will solve your problems. No. It's not going to solve your problems. It'll fix some neuron issues that you might have, but it's not going to solve your problems. If the shit that you're dealing with in your daily life is causing those issues, and we'll get into that in a second, because Eric has a suggestion here. It's terrible. And I went cold turkey unintentionally because I ran out and I was in a different city. I was like 800 miles away. I didn't have any with me and they wouldn't fill my prescription. I literally ended up in the hospital. And then it took me going into the emergency room, having
Wow.
serotonin syndrome and symptoms of serotonin syndrome, where the pharmacist said, if you were, because I remember I was at a conference, I walked to the pharmacy at the 2-hour dinner break, talked to the pharmacist, explained what was going on. It was a female pharmacist. She said, if you were my husband or somebody I cared about, I would take you to the hospital right now. I can't refill it because I don't have authority, but go to the hospital. So I called an Uber. I went up to the hospital and they put me in and they admitted me overnight and they just pumped me full of so much shit that I
Wow.
barely remember the experience. I remember coming back to the hotel the next morning at like 11 a.m. just in time to grab my bags, hit the airport, and then fly back home. It was like I
This is
missed.
craziness. This is
It's madness.
crazy, man. First of all, I wish we had Jamie. I want to be like, Jamie, why don't you check this up? What percentage of Americans are on SSNRIs or SSRIs or any sort of antidepressants? Are you familiar? You've watched Joe Rogan. Jamie is the guy that's always checking up the facts on, and I was looking up the YouTube videos.
I've listened to some of his podcasts and stuff. I don't.
Okay.
So the thing for me is that he's 3+ hours long, and I'm like, I break it down. It takes me 3 days to listen to a whole thing, and then he's got 2 more episodes out, and I'm always just trailing behind. But I know who you're talking about.
But Jamie's the guy, and we need a Jamie. We need a guy that's like, all right, check. Listen, Jamie, check that, please. How many Americans are on antidepressants? So it's a big number. I don't know if you're able to see over there, Jeff, but it's a big number. And if you see that, let us know, fill it in. But the reality is that it's not, it doesn't solve everything at the end of the day. I mean, I think it should be given as a therapeutic use, until somebody, to help somebody out of particular situations, and then as something that allows people to heal, like I said, like therapy, and then eventually help wean them off with some sort of exit strategy, with not having to be on it, because it definitely messes with people. So
Yeah,
we're just talking about the benefits of exercise again. So in my my personal experience, I'm juggling a lot of stuff, like you. And the exercise, without a doubt, gives me the ability to do that. It doesn't just give me the ability to do that, but it lowers the stress levels. I think that's what the number one thing is that I can deal with A, B, C, D, and if I'm not working out, A, B, C, D is crushing me, and I'm feeling and I'm feeling like there's no light at the end of the tunnel. Boom, bring in exercise, and now and now I see not just the light at the end of the tunnel, but I'm seeing more. You're seeing more possibilities. You're seeing just much more, and that's the whole thing. It's like, if we want to create, we want to be effective, we want to be successful, you got to have that. We have to have it create the feeling, like Tony Robbins likes to say. Says, create the state. And in order to do that, it's the exercise. The body is the number one thing that's talked about so much.
Right.
But at the same time, it is the most important thing. I don't want to stop talking about it, because that's something that everybody has to know. And it's like, if you're don't push it off, because you need that. So if we're in our houses right now, we're spending time at home. Well, let's get that in, because that is going to boost our, that's going to boost how we're feeling, and how we're feeling is everything. This is going to affect everything that we're doing in our life.
Three things real quick.
Yeah.
So I know where you're going. Number one, so I became your Jamie. I muted the line. I pulled it up here real quick. So we got, and Eric, I see you, I hear you, and we'll get there in just a moment here. So as far as the SSRIs, SNRIs, and this, 12.7% as of 2018, 12.7% of the US population over the age of 12, they're prescribing this shit to teenagers. Yeah. And here's the worst thing too, when I was prescribed to these things, I remember seeing that you get a little pamphlet on them. As you're a teenager, your brain is kind of developing, your body's developing, your gut, your brain, all of this stuff. You have a higher risk of suicide and feeling deeper depression as a teenager than you do of an adult, as the drugs are starting to get into your system and be effective. 12.7% of the 300 million people we have in this country, the United States, are on antidepressants. 64% of the people using antidepressants in the last 15 years is an increase, 64% increase in the last 10 years. 19% of adults over 60 took antidepressants at least on a few times a week. Over 60, man, it doesn't stop. Women are twice as likely than men to be prescribed as antidepressants. 16.5% of non-Hispanic Americans, white Americans, are taking antidepressants, about 3 times as many as any other race or ethnic group in the United States. So I don't know statistically for the world, I just psychological association. So there's your Jamie for the day.
Thank you, Jamie. That was good. Thanks for stepping in. So Eric had a question. Eric, let's talk about discipline. How the hell to stay disciplined during this time.
So what I do, all right, this is my planner. This is not always, it's called the Full Focus Planner. You can find it literally worldwide. I do not get paid for this endorsement, but without this planner, I do not know. So here's a tip. This planner led me to be in the relationship with the woman I'm in right now. Believe that shit or not. Like, we're in another group here in my hometown, and it's single parents banding together. And she saw me talking about this planner, and I did a live, and I launched it in the group because I'm friends with the moderator. And she reached out to me and said, hey, what do you do? What's this planner you're talking about? I'd love to learn more about it. I feel like I'm always just, chasing my tail. I have no idea what's going on. So this planner's done some good for me, but without the planner, man, I do not know where my life would be. I fill it every week. As soon as I'm off here today, I'm going to go through. I reviewed last week, preview the following week, and then I fill out the next 7 days on what I do, my morning routine, my afternoon routine, my evening and my night routine before I go to bed, and I fill in the gaps because a lot of people, myself included, I put it in my Google Calendar or your Outlook calendar, whatever, but everything, when I write it down physically and I put pen to paper, it goes from my head into my hand, it sticks a little bit better. And I always have this, it's usually within it's very seldom is it in the room that I'm not in, or it's not in my backpack if I'm traveling or whatever the situation is. And it keeps me organized. And Eric, from work from home discipline, it's really just developing routines. In my opinion, the simplest way, and we can dive, if you want to dive into this, Josh, even further, developing routines, like getting up at a certain time every day, going to bed at a certain time every day, down to the point of eating your meals at the same time if you can every day, or within 20, 30 minutes of themselves, rather than just kind of fly by the seat of your pants, which is kind of a cool term. I used to say before I got organized, I'd say I fly by the seat of my ass, wherever it was, that's where I was, and that's how I was operating. But developing some sort of routine, and it sounds boring as hell, man. And that was my thing when I was a teenager and a younger adult male. I never wanted to be regimented. I never wanted to be in a position where somebody could say, oh, you're boring. You do the same things every day. You are very easy to see what you're doing, I always wanted to live an exciting kind of a never know what to expect lifestyle. And then when I was 33 and all of this stuff started to happen with my ex-wife, and we decided that, well, essentially she decided, but it was whatever, different story, that our relationship was not going to go any further. It was like, so for the last, since I was 18 to 33, my life has just been a ball of chaos, trying to do something, trying to chase the right things, always trying to find a way to make more money, do the right thing, become healthier, become fitter. And what did it lead me to do? It led me to file bankruptcy. It led me down the path of divorce. It led me down the path of being, 30 some odd pounds overweight, being on antidepressants, being addicted to alcohol to the point I was literally pouring it in my Keurig coffee maker every morning as the coffee was coming out, getting involved in an illicit relationship while I was still married to somebody who was prescribed to 4 different opioids. And then I found myself at one point just being in that relationship with her because she had the pills that helped me feel better about myself, because I couldn't get a prescription myself. And I looked at that and I went, wow, my life sucks. What do I have to do to change this? So I was like, what can I do that's completely the opposite of this? So I started to figure that out. It took me about 1.5 years of deep dive and looking and learning to really put that together. And now I don't give a shit that my life is regimented, man. It's been better than it's ever been before. I'm healthier than I've ever been. I have a tremendous relationship with my son. I'm organized. Aside from, this lockdown that's preventing me from doing business with my customers, I'm making more money than I've ever made before. My other business is doing better than it's ever done before. We're here live on this group chat, whereas at that time I wouldn't have had the balls or the confidence or any of that to even put my face in front of a camera. I've spoken on stages in different places around West Michigan. You've seen me go live almost every day. I go live on my own Facebook group and in other groups and in my page. So it's just these things of like how things have shifted. But I guess the bare bones answer is you've got to find a routine and get regimented and keep with that in order to do it. And if you've got kids at home that you see once in a while, you have full custody. I don't know your situation, Eric. I don't think you put it on here. Make sure that you develop time for your family and your children, or if you've got a girlfriend or new fiance or whatever your situation is, time for that person, you time, family time, and then the rest of it is to do your job and do your work and make sure everybody else knows that you're working. Just because you're working from home does not mean that you're available to be interrupted and distracted. And that's the hardest thing for other people to understand, because they're used to all of us being in an office or in the field or whatever. But now that we're home, they have to understand as well that just because we're home doesn't mean we can play video games with you all day or whatever. It's like, if they need help with something, I will help you. I love you. You're my child and you are my heart, or whatever you want to say to them. I will help you with this, but I need to finish this first. And, here's our time. Like my son on the weekends, it's kind of like, if he wants to play basketball, hell yeah, it's a little more lax. But during the week, no, man. It's like 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. We can do whatever we want to, but the rest of it, I'm working. After that, I'm working. It's just having that routine, and they'll understand. And it feels hurtful and it feels painful to schedule your kids in.
It's creating boundaries. Listen,
it is,
I think
absolutely.
it's also
and they'll appreciate that and respect that. And the same thing with a relationship. You've got to have the boundaries with whoever's in your life. So.
Yeah. Listen, there's a couple things here. With you, I totally am with you on the routine. I think it's also the discipline is definitely about routine.
Mm-hmm.
I do want to mention something here about a book that was extremely helpful for me.
Please.
And if you can type that into the chat, it's called The Power of When. Okay, not The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, which is all about awareness into the now, but it's called The Power of When. The Power of When is a book that helped me a lot before the coronavirus. I will tell you that, and still does, because what it does, it breaks up people into four different sleeping types, and the amount of sleep that people need. And based upon these types, each person has they call it chronotypes. I believe he has them as bears, wolves, dolphins, and lions, and each chronotype follows a different circadian rhythm.
Mm-hmm.
Now, for anyone who's familiar with circadian rhythms, you know what it is. And for those that don't, these are the basic time patterns that our bodies follow. So based upon these certain chronotypes and certain genetic certain genes, your body will be in tune with the time and work differently. So the coolest thing about this is that you can take the test, and we'll get the link out there. And I'm not being paid for this. Maybe we should.
I already put it. It's in the comments here, so we got
amazing.
The link there. Yeah.
Thank you, brother. And you'll basically, I took the test and I'm a bear. And what is it? What is a bear? Well, typically, a bear will have peak times between 10 and 12 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
He'll talk about times, the best times to eat, the best times to have a snack, the best times to have sex, the best times to exercise. And what he's done, and he's created this schedule that you can actually fit in your day if you're somebody that's self-employed, or even maybe if you work for a company. I don't know, but you can set up your schedule in accordance with these times. And what ends up happening is that you have much more flow in your day, because you're matching up the activity with your peak times or with your low times. It even talks about the best times to do sales, when to call people, and which is great. And also the type of people that you're calling. If you're calling CEOs or you're calling
There you
you
go.
know, your, you know, blue collared workers, whatever it is. But this helped me out a lot with the discipline. And again, like I just want to put this out there. I am like naturally, I am not a time bound individual.
Mhm.
I am very into just I could just go with the flow. So for me, I really have to follow, you know, something, and I found that to be really effective. Now that being said, we are not, you know, we're in completely different times right now, and this is what I'd love to discuss is how the hell can you be disciplined when you have a bunch of kids in your house, you know, when you have small children, and I know that, you know, I know that they're going to follow what you do, but I mean, after spending 6 days with my kids in a row, you know, I can follow a schedule as best as I can, you know, but I mean, I'm going running up the fucking wall. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
There is the reality is that I have to be flexible at the same time and follow some sort of schedule. And we had this conversation with Donnie,
Mhm.
and Donnie was, you know, Donnie Hall, who was on last week on the
Mhm.
podcast, on the video cast, streaming live in the group. He was like, you know, you should keep your meal times the same, and there's certain things that you need to keep the same, like you were mentioning. But dude, it's like I just had to let go. You know, I'll stutter like 10 more times when I'm talking about that. Like I just had to. It is difficult, man.
Yeah.
And you know, for myself, like there's no single dad there. Who the hell else is there taking care of the kids? Like they're, you know, when I'm not there, they're fucking, you know, they're either playing super nicely with each other, which they have, and it was amazing, and I took the
That's
opportunity to
awesome.
work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or sometimes they just want to bash each other's heads in, and they're running around, you know, and sometimes they need the attention.
Yeah.
They need structure. And the reality is that it's who's giving them structure right now.
Right.
And with, you know, with having one person in the home, there's only so much structure that we can give them. So, you know, I, does Eric hear what we're saying? I mean, he's a couple minutes behind, but
I'm sure you can hear. I haven't seen any comments or chimes. So the
we
beauty of
even
this
get him
is,
on. Yeah, does he
considering
even
that
want
it's
to get on
recorded,
there? What?
considering that it's recorded, I mean, he can always come back on here. You want me to see if I can
Yeah,
engage in him or bring him into the chat?
if he wants, we can. I mean, if you can just chat it and see if he wants, we can bring him into the Zoom if he's interested.
Okay.
Um, yeah, just let him know, and I'll even you can even message him. So there's that. What,
Mhm.
what, you know, I am definitely no pro. I'm definitely no guru. I have my own, you know, my own thing that I do with routine. And
Right.
again, the routine helps. By the way, I do want to mention this though, is that it's the workout morning routine is still super important, and we still do that, you know. So what I'll do right now, okay, and because like this whole conversation, we're talking about happiness, and we're talking about maintaining health, and we're talking about that stuff. Without a doubt, without a question, the most important thing is, you know, I believe, is that exercise, also is that sunshine, is that exercise, that sunshine, and exercise, sunshine, and meditation.
Oh my
Um,
gosh. Yes.
without a doubt. So what I'll do is in the morning time, is that I'll make sure. And again, we had this conversation last time, and Coach Donnie Hall called it all me. AM time is all me time. And
Okay.
what I do is I get up. You know, I'll get up in the morning. I'll go out. The kids are going to be eating breakfast. I'll let them watch some TV. That's usually when I'll let them watch TV. Go ahead and watch TV. I'm going to make myself, you know, I make myself water with lemon and ginger. I go
Mhm.
outside. I just sit and I clear my head. I just really kind of focus in on the body,
Mhm.
my energy field, how I'm feeling. And then I go do breath work and meditation.
Yeah.
After my breath work and meditation, kids, let's get outside now. We're going for a run, walk, whatever. What I'm doing right now is they're scootering. Okay, so I have them on scooters. when they're with me and I'm running and I'm just like, you guys you guys fucking go and I just so
Are they powered scooters or are they pushing with their feet? They
no,
kick
they're
them.
pushing with their feet.
Okay. I'm like, damn, man, you gotta be fast because those powered ones, they go 20, 30, you know?
Oh man, I wish. No, they're not powered scooters, but so they're getting exercise. I'm getting, like, and this is what's been great for me. And then,
Yeah.
but that sets me up for the day, and that really relieves the stress. And like I said, what work was I able to get done today? None.
Not much. And
None.
there's going to be days like that, and you just
Yeah,
can't beat yourself up over it because you know that
exactly.
you've got your the amount of time in the day that you have is the exact same as the rest of us. Now, the time difference between where I am and where you are is irrelevant because you can still like now it's you're 6 hours I think ahead of me. Here I am, I'm 6 hours behind you. We're doing this. We're conversing across the globe, and then if you had other business to do after this, depending on your sleep schedule with your circadian rhythms, you said you were a bear, right? Whatever that amounts to for time
Bear.
frame, you can still go out there and you can communicate with guys like me in the Eastern time zone in the United States or Central or Mountain or California or Hawaii or wherever, or even in a few short hours, if you're staying up that long, you get into people who are into the next day in Australia, the Philippines, these kind of
We
things.
just had the conversation. Actually, this is guys. We had a conversation, and I see we have a couple friends out there. I want to
Yeah, we
give a
got
shout out.
Rob's on here. Hey, Rob, how you doing?
Rob, my man. Yes, you hit that nature trail again. Nature trails are my fucking favorite. This is where I run. This is where if
Mhm.
when I go to run and the nature trails because you get the sunshine, you get the nature, it's therapeutic.
Mhm.
And again, if you're able to do that, highly recommend it. I actually use some barefoot running shoes, which I am a huge fan of,
Which
and
ones do you use? Which ones?
I use Vivo Barefoot.
Vivo. I'm not familiar with them. I used to run in the Merrell Trail gloves a few years ago, and I
Mhm.
switched to I think it's a 2 millimeter drop. Now I can't even
That's
remember what
thin.
they are.
For
Um,
trails or
for
for
trails, 2 millimeter.
Ooh, you also got
They're either 2 or
damn boy.
4, but they're shit. I can't remember the company name. They only make trail shoes. Only make trail shoes. Kind of a specialized brand, and I got them at a huge discount. But then I was just
Great.
looking yesterday. I went out. So sometimes we have to run on the streets just through time constraints. For example, we were talking about getting the morning routine in or the exercise. I did not do it. So Saturdays and Wednesdays are my running days. And I was training for a 25K before all this shit hit. And I kind of went back down to my 5K, 3.5 whatever kilometers. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to double that. I just have to go out and I have to do it. And I think it was about 9:30 my time last night. What's up, Adam? How you doing, my friend? We see you on here.
Yeah, my
Welcome,
boy.
welcome. Yeah, we were just talking about your part of the
Yes.
world there a minute
We
ago.
got distracted.
I went out last night and I said it's 9:30 p.m. I'm going to run 10 kilometers. I don't care what it takes. I don't care how
That's
long
it.
it takes. I'm going to do it. And all I had was my trail shoes. They were soaking wet from this misadventure I had the other day. We can talk about that another time. I ended up in some farmer's field. There were like 30 acres of who the hell knows where I was. And totally off. I didn't even know where I was. I literally thought, like, as I'm sloughing through knee deep slop and shit in this field, going, I'm gonna have to call in medevac to rescue me because I don't know where I'm at. I might be trapped here, and I can see houses. You know what I mean?
Boy's gonna come out with his shotgun and get you off of his goddamn field, boy.
I told some people. I got in the car and I was talking to somebody on the way back, and she's like, It's a good thing they didn't come out with a shotgun and start chasing you because private property." Anyway, I grabbed my.
Yeah, you wouldn't be here on this goddamn podcast.
I know, right? So my son at 13, his feet are as big as mine. So I was like, fuck it. He's got, street running shoes. I'm going to throw his shoes on. And they felt really good because they don't have all that little tacky
The
bottom
cleats.
stuff and the
Yeah.
cleaty things. So it was
Yeah,
really
yeah.
just cushion. And I went, okay, so I got to get me a pair of those too. But the point is, like, you still got to do it. You still got to get that. It's like you had mentioned, your day doesn't feel right unless you do this exercise and this workout. And it just didn't feel right. The whole day felt off. I'm like, I'll get to it. I'll get to it. I'll get to it. I didn't give a shit that it was 9:30. I got to it. And then going live on my page, I didn't give a shit that it was 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. I still went live because I made that commitment to do it. And that's part of that, keeping that routine. Even if the time frame gets fucked up, you still have to do the activity and the action to get.
That's a clutch. So that you just got into something really important here. It's the series of actions, right? It's the even if the time of day is different, right? So if I'm getting up, I'm drinking water, I'm breathing, I'm meditating, I'm exercising, right? I'm doing all of those things. Even if I decide to wake up, let's say at 12 o'clock in the afternoon, same thing, right? I think having a trigger, these are sorts of triggers that we have, because it's like the domino effect. One leads to two, leads to three, leads to four, sets you off in the pattern. And I think that's part of the routine that's really, really key over here, is that you've done these things and one thing leads to the other. And these are often referred to as small wins also, our routines. And these are habits that help build other habits. Again, and there's habits that are foundational habits. And there's a book called The Power of Habit. Wow, The Power of When, The Power of Habit, I think this one's called, which is absolutely great. And he goes through how to create habits, how to create habits that, and how to, drop habits that don't work for you and add new ones in, because there's a flow state, right? There's once we've become accustomed to doing something over and over again, we're not thinking about it. So if we can switch up what we're doing and we're now doing things that are good for us, we're not thinking about it anymore, right? And we're doing what is healthy for us, and it's now become a habit. So if somebody's like to me, wow, dude, how are you so fit? Well, I mean, I'm doing things that I'm not even thinking about anymore. I have to do it, whether it's however I'm eating. By the way, we'll go into that in a second too. I think that's really important. Whether it's how I'm eating or how I'm moving, or, moving my body, when I'm moving my body. Is there anyone asking any questions right now?
Well, Adam's on. He just said that he's doing good. No questions at this point. I think we got some viewers, we got some listeners. So.
All right. Again, guys, if you got questions, feel free to ask. If you want to mention something, guys, feel free. So, which brings me to my next point. I want to talk about food that we're eating, because we're talking about keeping our serotonin levels high. We're talking about keeping that, getting ourselves feeling good, feeling happy. And I do want to make a quick mention, because I realize that I do a lot of intermittent fasting. In general, I think that what I personally will do is I'll stop eating at about 8, usually 8:30, and then I won't eat again until usually about 10, actually, sometimes 10:30, and that span of time without eating and then jumping into an exercise first thing in the morning burns, and I've realized I've been doing that naturally, but as I've been doing more research, that's one of the big pushers for keeping fit and for burning fat. And what I'd love to hear about is about the foods that we can eat to promote good feelings, gut health. Where the hell is serotonin created, man?
So absolutely, and I've been intermittent fasting for about a year as well, and until December I didn't even realize it until I was talking to somebody. I was at a conference in Las Vegas, and she said, "You have been intermittent fasting," because I'm like, I don't usually eat until around noon, and I usually stop eating somewhere between 6 and 7 p.m., maybe as late as 8, but I try to get at least 3 hours before bedtime is the last time I eat any type of food whatsoever. And I think that's been instrumental in the weight loss I talked about earlier, is the intermittent fasting, the exercise, and then proper nutrition on that. And we talk about proper nutrition because in our gut, what happens in our gut correlates with the rest of our body and how we feel. And we're talking illness, we're talking signs of well-being, inflammation, disease. And you think about the word disease, and I learned about this yesterday. It was just interesting. I was listening to this podcast. I think I sent you that podcast. Yeah, I did send you that podcast. So disease is you think of it as the combination of the two words of dis and ease, and then ease being like nice and relaxed, and then dis being the opposite of that, like causing problems. Huge signs of inflammation is caused by the food that we eat, and that goes into our gut. And as it's being broken down, you think about what is in your gut is your gut and your intestines. the microbiome, in an average between 10 and 100 trillion bugs, essentially microbes in your gut, all different types of microbes, and they can be bad, they can be good. And if you have an imbalanced and more of a leaning bad microbiome, you're going to have these major issues like arthritis, potential for cancer, heart disease, coronary artery disease, diabetes, just depression is a big one too. And a huge part of it is because of the food that you eat, and it goes into, I mean, even things like Crohn's disease. Hi there, I'm live right now. I told you.
Gonna happen.
Like I said, Crohn's disease, irritable bowel syndrome, so many different things that can, and they're all correlated to what we put in our body. And when we're eating shitty food, we're going to feel shitty. It's not just a matter of feeling bloated and until the food is digested, but it's processed foods cause an overgrowth of the bad bacteria and the bad microbes in your gut that lead to these things. And we'll think about being happy and having that mood elevated. You mentioned serotonin. I mean, the big thing with serotonin is it's, as I mentioned previously, it's the happiness mood booster, the happiness, what is it? I can't think of the term.
It's a
now.
drug, bro. It's a goddamn drug. People, I believe that Van Gogh said we are drugs, man. It's a drug.
Right.
It's a form of, it's a chemical in our body that
chemical.
That's
what, how come I think of chemical? I don't know, man. Whatever. It's chemical.
You're in Israel and I'm in Detroit.
You think about it. Well, one of us is one of those places. So, and you think about how your body responds to these. So up to 90% of the serotonin that your body produces is produced in your gut. And the food that you put into your body is transferred as information to your body and how your body responds and reacts to it. And again, processed foods usually result in inflammation, and inflammation can be one of the biggest triggers and one of the major health crises in the 20th and 21st century is inflammation, leading to so many other diseases. And if you can just cut out inflammation, cut out the shitty food that you're eating that causes that, a lot of the problems that we have physically and even psychologically can be reduced or even eliminated when you think about the production of serotonin. That level of serotonin gets depleted and you don't produce as much when you're eating bad food. It's all correlated to the food being information, the proper food, the proper diet. And you think about, it goes right into your immune system. I mean, your immune system is what determines how healthy you are and how effectively you might fight off something like COVID-19, like SARS, like the seasonal flu, the common cold, any of these things. If you have a weakened immune system, you're more likely to catch this, whatever it is, and you're more likely to have dramatic negative effects as a result of that. So that's really kind of where it comes into. 90% of your serotonin your body produces is in your gut, not in your brain. Now we think that it's in our brain because when we take or are prescribed SSRIs or SNRIs, the antidepressants, what it does is it changes the way the neurons in your brain receive the serotonin hormone, the serotonin chemical, and then it goes into your brain, and then it sends the signals and transmits the information throughout the rest of your body. And when you think about these things, the gut and the brain pathway is through, are you familiar with the vagus nerve?
The vagus?
Vagus, however you want to say it.
Vagina?
It sounds more like that when you say vagus nerve. It's actually a direct brain-gut connection. The vagus nerve goes from your gut into your brain. And a lot of people in the last 10 years, the microbiome has been studied and how it affects your health. Because of that brain-gut connection, a lot of people, a lot of scientists, researchers, people way smarter than I am are saying that the gut is essentially a second brain. And then as of late, in the last 24 months, I've been reading things and listening to things and people saying, well, essentially the gut not being called the brain, but the gut is the first brain, because when you put stuff into your body, if you're drinking alcohol, you're putting substances in your body, you're putting food in your body, it goes into your gut first, and then it's broken down, and then that information that you're putting into your gut is then relayed into your brain, and then your brain sends it to the rest of it. So a lot of these researchers are starting to say the gut is essentially the first brain, because it interprets what you're putting into your body, sends it to the brain, and then your brain shoots it throughout the rest of the body saying, this is what we're going to do with this. This is how we're going to feel.
There's a percentage of neurons, and Jamie, if you can you check up on that? How many how many neurons are found? Yeah, no, there's a certain amount of neurons, because that's why when you get a gut feeling about something, you're getting a feeling because there are actual
and
same cells as you have in your brain are in your stomach.
So there are a lot of neurons. I don't know the exact number. I don't know if I have it.
Yeah, check this out, man. Check it out, Jamie. I'm curious how many neurons
got
we
it
got
there.
in the
Let me
belly.
see. So here, let me see if I can find it real quick. I thought I took that down. Maybe I don't know if I have it. I'll look it up in a second here, but Rob mentions on our little forum here, he says, it's funny that we bring that up because he's been diagnosed with an autoimmune disease in the last week. Rob, I hope that this can help you maybe, and you can, I don't know what you're looking at for a solution, but a lot of it and research, and we can put links and stuff. If you're cool with it, Josh, you can put links in here on some of the resources and how to determine the food that's shitty for you, that's surprising. There's some things that are even surprising, like bananas are surprisingly bad for your gut microbiome. You'd be surprised at some of the stuff that you think are good for you, but they're really not.
So I would love to hear about that, man.
Well, let me see if I can Jamie this real quick and find the neuron system here.
Yes, so let's find out how many neurons we have in our stomach.
All right.
It's unbelievable, man, and also in our heart too.
Oh my gosh. So that's absolutely true. Is like you say, you get that gut feeling, you get the butterflies in your stomach, you get these things because of the neurons. They act independent of the brain. So not all of it travels to the brain and then your brain tells it what to do, but there's so much in your gut actually that has this, they say the gut reaction. You know what I mean? It's like your gut will tell your body what to do a lot of times without sending that into your brain first. It's called the enteric nervous system. I'm trying to find out how many neurons are actually in there. And at risk of not sitting here, well, we'll figure it out. We'll put it in there later. That can be Jamie and 42 other things here. So,
I love having a Jamie. Oh,
so we can be the Jeffrey, right? We won't have a Jamie.
Yes, fine, the Jeffrey.
So
oh my God. I feel so cool. So cool just saying that, man. I feel like I'm like
hold on, let me try to get the cool pose here.
Check up on that, Jamie. Will you
so here's a couple of things that might be beneficial to you, Rob. Let's see, Beckett's, I'm not terribly familiar with that one. I think it's pronounced Beckett's syndrome. But here's a couple of things as far as the foods and stuff. So if you're not eating a diverse range of foods and you're not eating a lot of these colors, plants, vegetables, fruits, again, stay away from processed foods. I mean, those are some huge things. Lack of prebiotics in your diet is a huge thing. When you don't have enough prebiotics, whether it's coming from food or through supplements, that can cause a lot of problems as well, like fruits, vegetables, whole grains, naturally containing prebiotic fiber. Go ahead.
Yeah, whole grains. Yeah, so I mean, again, I think there's switch ups that people can do in their diet. So sure. Right, like we're getting a lot of this.
There's actually a diet called the microbiome diet, which I can put the link in here if anybody wants to dive into it. It's like a 4-step process, and it looks like it takes about 90 days, but there's 4 R's. We can jump into that in a second, but I mean, couple of examples of high prebiotic foods: lentils and chickpeas, oats, artichokes, asparagus, garlic, leeks, onions, nuts. You know, I love almonds, pistachios, cashews. You know,
tell them. Give me 1 second. I want to bring you something while you're continue what you're. I want to share something with you, but while you guys while you're still there.
So, like I had said, sometimes bananas are just, you'd be surprised because they have a lot of potassium in bananas, but if you eat too many bananas, it's just not great for your gut. Drinking too much alcohol is something that obviously can harm your body. That looks like kombucha.
Yeah.
Nice. So there's all your shit right there floating around, and it looks nasty. But it's so good for you.
I haven't made this one in a little while.
Okay.
For everyone that is watching, like our friend Jeffrey has said, this is kombucha.
Mhm.
It is a psychedelic mushroom. So if we take this, it basically, we get this crazy trip. We're high for about a month, and we go through a very intense process where the world melts around us, and we have to rebuild everything piece by piece. But that being said, it heals everything. Isn't that right, Jeff?
Yes, I actually took my normal dose this morning about 6 hours.
Okay, except it doesn't get you high, guys.
At
It's
some
not.
point, everything's just going to melt around. So here's the thing: if you're prescribed antibiotics by your physician and your physician says you've got to take these,
I think you need to clarify. It doesn't get you high. Okay?
it does not get you high. It will not
Yes.
get you high. It doesn't.
Yes.
So people used to say when I was in middle school that you could take banana peels and you could scrape the inside of a banana peel off. You could put it in the oven and bake it at like 400 degrees for an hour, and then you could smoke it and you'd get high. As the adventurous experimental young man that I was, I tried this, and all I got was a headache, and the fucking smoke detector in the house went off because I
Did
burned
you
it.
actually do that?
I did.
Oh,
I
oh.
did, and it was
Where?
terrible.
Okay, see, this is why I need to communicate that this is not a drug like that. I cannot believe that.
It's not a drug. Yeah, Rob, I think with what you're doing, you and your girlfriend doing some research on that is good things. So we're gonna post some links in here as long as it's cool with you, Josh, on some of
Oh
these
yeah.
like the diet things. So there's actually like the let me just grab this microbiome diet and I'll put the link right in here. So that way Rob might not be a bad idea. Now, again, Rob, I'm not an MD, I'm not a DO, but I do know from enough research and talking with enough people and being on them myself that antibiotics will fuck you up. They will fuck up your entire system. That'll tear your gut apart. And I was reading an article before you said, all right, it's time, about how the gut may never actually heal from antibiotic use.
Really?
Never. Pre-antibiotic and post-antibiotic gut biome is completely different, and it may.
No way. Wait, where did you see this?
I'm looking for the article right now.
Jamie.
New York Times, man. New York Times posted an article about a year ago.
I'll tell you what. Okay, so thankfully, thank the good Lord, universe, everything, I don't get sick. I barely get sick. This, it was about, I would say about a month ago. No, it's been a couple months now, but I had ripped off a piece of skin from my finger, and I had gone to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and I was, BJJ with everyone, rolling, and also fighting with my gloves, probably sharing gloves also.
Mm-hmm.
I got an infection in my finger, which I normally don't, which is like totally strange.
Yeah.
They prescribed, the doctor looked at it, he prescribed me a pre-prescribed antibiotics. Now,
sure.
I generally, I'm not a fan of antibiotics. I try to, I believe that we should, do our best to not use them, but there are certain times when we have to. That's why they're there. I said, okay, listen, I guess I'll take it. I took the antibiotics. I ended up getting sick. Okay. Right around that time for a week. Okay. My body was hurting, like I was in pain, and I personally correlate that with that antibiotics, because I feel like, it sort of takes down part of our ability to fight, to fight diseases on some level, because it's killing the good bacteria,
Yeah.
right? And it's killing the bad bacteria. And yeah, man, I gotten sick after, not from, the antibiotics didn't get me sick, but the fact that I think that it, it made me susceptible to illness. Yeah.
And it can, because it ruins, like you said, the good and the bad bacteria. So here's a little clip of that here. So antibiotics usually cause a short-term decline in the beneficial bacteria in your gut, and they temporarily increase your harmful bacteria. So you can,
what do they say that again? They do what?
You can have an increase in the bad bacteria and a decline in the good bacteria from antibiotics. Now, some are necessary for things like UTIs, urinary tract infections, and other infections, but they leave you susceptible to getting other infections, other illness, other disease, and just becoming sick again. They can also lead to long-term alterations in your gut bacteria, lasting, from the studies they've done, up to 2 years. Now, they haven't done studies beyond that point yet, but then again, there's an article I previously mentioned that it could be a permanent change in your flora, fauna, in your gut. Most of the good ones, if you're feeding them good prebiotics and probiotics and eating good food, it can be as little as like 2 to 4 weeks before things kind of sort of get back to normal. But they never ever will return to the previous levels you once had of the good bacteria once you take antibiotics. And I don't know, you mentioned, we've talked a little bit about flow here. Are you familiar with the Flow Genome Project?
The Flow Genome Project?
Yeah. So back in
No.
I think it was I don't know the time frame, but the Human Genome Project was to map out the strands of DNA,
Right.
which gave us that double helix platform that we all know. Well, they came out with the program. There you go. The Flow Genome Project, maybe 5 years ago, a gentleman named Jamie Wheal and then a guy named Stephen Kotler. Jamie Wheal is kind of one of these futurists, almost like a philosopher. And then Stephen Kotler is an author, researcher, and they've written a couple books together, which are absolutely phenomenal. Check these guys out. They created the Flow Genome Project, and Stephen Kotler started researching states of flow and how to heal yourself by achieving these flow states and the good things you can do after he caught, it wasn't lupus, it was some major disease that he started taking antibiotics, and it literally made him paralyzed from his waist down. And taking these antibiotics, he had to take such a high dose of antibiotics to fight the what was happening in his body. And the only thing that got him out of it was starting to surf, because surfing requires so much concentration. I've never done it myself.
You regenerated the cells
to get into that flow state to stay on the board and ride the wave and all these other things. And that's a little bit about flow state on that. Rob says probiotics are a good thing to take. Yes, probiotics and prebiotics are amazing to take. Vitamin is always a good thing. Yogurt can be really good too, but you just have to make sure that if it's a Greek yogurt is always recommended, because if I don't know where you're at, Rob, but if you take, like, I call it the American style yogurt, like when you get Dannon and it's full of sugar and all that other
shit, boy, it's shit.
Added fruit and stuff at the bottom. It's just tons and tons of sugar. So you have dairy, which a lot of people are sensitive to, and then you got a shitload of sugar added to it. So try to stay with Greek yogurt. I don't know what that is. What is that, John?
Unpasteurized honey.
There you go. There you go. So research the good yogurt. And you're from Michigan. Man, I don't know where you're at, brother. I'm in Grand Rapids. We need to connect at some point. Greek yogurt. Stay away from Dannon. Stay away from, whatever your selects. For the love of God, stay away from your Go-Gurts, the stuff aimed at kids and school.
It's so bad, man.
And then find a good supplement you can take. So here's a surprising one that a lot of people don't know about: omega-3 supplements. Omega fish oil supplements are really good for your eyes, hair, and then your gut health too. It's actually part of a regimen that I started taking about 2 weeks ago. I got the new program I started taking to just optimize and maximize my gut health. And omega is part of it. And there's like 3 or 4, it's like LDI. Actually,
what do you got there, boy?
Omega-3s, there's a biome balance program, and then a metabolic LDL. So it's like good, the good cholesterol health on that, and then some other products that I'm taking. So yeah.
Are you going to give me some CBD pills right now?
No, I don't have CBD. I haven't taken CBD in a while. So omega-3, prebiotics, probiotics, and here's what we'll do, Rob. We'll kind of talk about it here in a few minutes, but food is the best thing that you can do, the right type of food. I do have a supplement business, and I always want to recommend that, but to anybody out there, the right type of food is the best thing that you can do. Food being information. If you're eating shitty food and you're taking supplements to fix the problem caused by eating shitty food, lack of exercise, lack of sleep, lack of sex, lack of these joyful things in your life, the supplements are only going to do so much. You have to change other behaviors and other habits. Otherwise, it's going to be a temporary fix, and it's not going to be a long-term thing. And then when you develop these positive habits, they become habits after your 21 or 60 days or whatever they're saying now, then you're going to be in a better position. So if you're drinking a lot of booze, slow it down. If you're smoking cigarettes, slow it down or stop completely, and do these good things. Get sleep, exercise, meditate. For fuck's sake, man, meditation saved my life. The number one thing I can say that brought me through the shit that I went through, that a lot of men going through divorce and these things went through. Meditation. I discovered Deepak Chopra and then Oprah Winfrey. They do a 21-day program. I did that 21-day program. I downloaded like 6 apps on my phone in every single night, and now it's part of my morning routine. I do 2 different meditation. I do a visualization and I do breath work, and that is my no matter.
You and I do so much. We do a lot of similar
what.
stuff.
And that's what I mean. Like, great minds think alike, man. We have these routines because we know that the shit works. So I want to talk about good food for the gut, like really, really good.
Honey, guys, honey, unpasteurized honey, another good probiotic.
Be careful of the food that you're eating. Be careful of your like animal proteins. I know that a lot of it is protein stuff in there, but a lot of it is so chemically altered.
So let's let's talk about that a little bit, my friend.
Yeah.
I personally, let's talk about diet. My personal vibe is I feel great and healthy off of usually vegetables and greens. My favorite is greens and protein. I don't buy salamis and the deli meats like that. That we know is absolutely terrible for you, and all the nitrates and the cancer causing carcinogens in them. But what I do want to discuss is other sorts of meats. What about steaks, lamb? What about chicken wings? Apart from the actual fats that can be found in them, what's your feeling on that health wise?
So what I always say with that is these terms that started coming out 5 or 10 years ago of like free range, organic, non-antibiotic treated, non-growth hormone treated. Just find these reliable sources that can prove that they are reliable sources, and eat the unaltered meat from animals. Now, personally, I don't eat meat. I'm a straight vegetarian. The closest I come is I occasionally will eat yogurt. And eggs. I fucking love eggs. Oh, and ice cream. Ice cream is my vice, man. You want to talk about bad sugar
that up, boy.
I love ice cream, but I don't eat meat. So if you're eating chicken or turkey, those are your leaner alternatives to beef. I don't.
You feel like you get enough protein, dude?
I get a ton of protein. I have some supplements to take for protein. I eat like raw, unfiltered peanut butter. I have other things, just other pea protein, nuts, that kind of stuff. So I get a good amount of protein. I don't know how much.
What about without supplements? You feel like I mean, because I'm really considering just I love my meat. I just want to drop it. I feel like, just let it go and see how that is. I for ethical reasons.
Yeah, and that's why I started doing it. So let me give you an example then. We all know the Avengers movies. Again, I referenced it earlier, but the guy Thor, Chris Hemsworth, well, he was training for one of the Avengers movies, or it was the most recent Thor movie. He went on a straight vegan diet. I mean, that motherfucker is jacked. And if he can vegan diet, I mean, there's your example right there. There's plenty of protein to be had. And that was the biggest thing when I told my mom I went vegetarian, because she's cooking food. How are you going to get enough protein? Well, there's so many sources. There's different vegetables that have different levels of protein.
Lentils,
you want to go away from straight vegan and you still want to eat eggs have protein. There's so much stuff out there that has protein, where I have the China Study Cookbook is what I use. And it's based on a book that was written 30 or 40 years ago on how I think it was Asian countries have more octogenarians than any other country or any other part of the world. People that live longer, live healthier, and they just don't.
Octogenarians, those are people over 80.
I think they're over 80. Yeah. They just don't eat. They don't eat meat.
Octopussy.
Or it's not available for them. So
octopus.
And some people do eat fish, and for a while I ate fish too, and then I just went, well, I'm just not eating any other meat. Might as well drop that too. And very seldom do I feel hungry, even with the intermittent fasting. I do a 16-8 where I fast for 16, eat for 8, and it's not just eating whatever the hell I want. It's just eating healthy, good. Whether or not I'm taking my protein shakes or my meal replacement shake, I'm still eating enough food.
Yeah, but you're like, you got to take meal replacement shakes. You know what I'm saying? Like, is that what we need?
I don't have to, and you don't have to, but I do, because it's part of my business, and I'm always going to be a product of my business to make sure that this shit works.
But I don't mean business. I mean, like considering that, like, if we're dropping meat off of our diets, and this doesn't seem natural. Then we have to start taking supplements to
No,
replace that.
you
Is
don't have to take supplements. There's plenty of food out there that gets you these things, and there are so many resources out there online, and you can get so many books that are like the bodybuilder's vegan, diet or these kind of things. And you go like Men's Health or mensfitness.com, and you can have these vegetarian diets. Like I said, what I just do is I stick to the China Study cookbook as far as for vegetarian resources.
it from Wuhan? This book that you have?
What's that?
Is it from Wuhan? The book that you have?
I got it before coronavirus infected the book. Yes.
Okay.
So there are just tons of. I mean, I don't know if you guys like peanut butter, man, but I'm a fucking.
I love, dude. I have this peanut butter that has it has nothing, no sugar, no nothing. I found that, and I had to get some other stuff that had some sugar in it. But dude, sometimes peanut butter can have a lot of crap in it.
Oh, it can. That's why you gotta look out for that.
Hydrogenated oils and stuff like that, which is absolutely terrible. Not to mention hydrogenated palm oil, guys. Stay away from palm oil.
Yep.
The reason why is it's not just a health factor, is that they're destroying freaking rainforests.
Oh, they are. I saw you posting on your
in order to create space for palm oil, and it's very, very, very destructive amongst other crops. But the palm oil tends to be the most, from what I know. So
So let's just go down here. Quinoa. Quinoa has been huge in the last few years.
That's good.
Huge. Chickpeas, hemp seed, nutritional yeast.
Peas, lentils.
Lentils are huge. Tofu. I don't know if you eat tofu, but I find myself if I go to some restaurant and if I go to an Asian restaurant, or if I go somewhere where you have a different, because there's a lot of like pizza places too. Like I'll get a Mediterranean pizza, you know what I mean? And sure, I eat cheese on the pizza. Who the fuck doesn't eat cheese on their pizza? Maybe I don't know. Green peas. There's so much stuff that you can take. Just do a little research. I mean, there's these conflicting ideas about soy now too, where soy used to be the greatest thing in the world, and then it was like, well, soy has these high levels of estrogen. It can cause I don't know what the symptom
I don't know how clear they are on that yet. I'm not sure.
That's the thing. I don't know either. There's like I said, there's conflicting evidence on that. So you make that decision based on your own research, your own choices, whether ethical.
And if you guys start growing boobs, then and you can let us know, and you can reach out.
And I want to know how long it took, because I will be like this all day long.
Is it working? Is it not working?
How does it feel? Yeah. So there's other major companies too, like you've heard of these companies, maybe like Beyond Meat or any of these other ones that's part of like the Impossible Whopper at Burger King, or you can buy them in the store, and there's so many other resources. But then again, if it's frozen shit, you gotta imagine
it's still shit. Even if it's vegan, it can be complete crap.
There is, and it can be. And you look at some of the research behind the scenes, you're like, oh, it's a meat alternative. It's still shit. The way that it's produced, the effects it has on the environment. There's so many ethical reasons why you shouldn't eat the Impossible Whopper as well. I have a friend that, I hadn't even thought about it, and get her on here, and she's so dialed into these things that she kind of opened my eyes. And I was like, it wasn't, at first I was like, oh, it's conspiracy theory stuff. And then I'm actually reading these like research articles from published authors, and I was like, oh, okay, that's legit. So
wait, what were you? Can you mention like what's with Impossible Whopper? What's it doing to the world?
It takes more. It's a higher carbon footprint impact to create 1 pound of Impossible Whopper than it is for like free range beef. Just the way that they make it, the way that they manufacture it, the process, the chemicals that they use, the electricity, the water, all these other things. Just like there was and I don't know the truth of it, but at one time I heard people saying that a gallon of was it almond butter or something, or it takes like 90 gallons of water to create 1 pound of almond butter or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm not so worried about the water situation, but I think the carbon footprint for a lot of vegetable growing apparently is greater, from what I've heard, than certain types of meats and stuff like that. Well, and then we have a different two-pronged situation here. There's ethically, the carbon footprint, and then there's also how the animals are treated.
Yes.
so on and so forth. Yeah. We talked about exercise. We talked about food, and let's, it's already 10:10, but I'm chilling here, and I don't know about you. If you don't have to leave, I'm more than happy to step into this topic. I want to talk about mindset over here, because this is one of the number one things, one of the most important things that you need to add into the mix here is how and what you're thinking about, what we're consuming, okay? And this is massive, okay? Because wanting to be happy and wanting to maintain health and wellness is that we gotta, yeah, what do you got over there?
Rob just called me out. He says he has a coworker that can't stand cheese, so he doesn't eat cheese on his pizza. So apparently we know one person. So,
Oh, buddy, there you go.
and I mean, if you're lactose, you have an allergy or whatever to dairy, obviously you can't. But there's alternatives to that too. I mean, if you want to have pure vegan pizza, you can get cauliflower crust with
Listen, I'll never cross that road. I'll never cross that road personally.
cauliflower
So,
pizza is legit, man. It's so good.
no, I mean the
So good.
cheese, dude. Do not,
Oh, no! You gotta have cheese on pizza. I'm sorry, I
cheese
can't
on
not have cheese
pizza.
on pizza. I'm sorry.
But this is it, man. This is another. We gotta tie into this is that the energy that we're experiencing throughout our day and the energy that we have has so much to do with, not just our food, not just the exercise, but what we're thinking, how we're thinking. Okay, emotional trauma that we have built up. Okay, what we're consuming, like visually, what we're listening to, what we're talking about. All of these things are going to play an impact. Okay, and right now there is a lot of shit out there on social media. There's so much crap everywhere you're looking. That depends on your Facebook, but everywhere that people are you could turn your head. There's so much crap that you can see, and being in a state of fear, being in a state of fight or flight, and being afraid constantly, and being stressed out and being anxious
Mhm.
is going to ruin. It's gonna get in the way of us being healthy. It's gonna get in the way of
Yeah.
us, maintaining that happiness. And it's so easy right now for us to fall into that. Okay, because I just want to talk about this, the crack, the fucking crack. Literally, it's crack. Our phones are crack, okay? And the hit of dopamine, and dopamine is that drug that when you're doing a line of cocaine, okay, you're it's producing dopamine in your brain on some level, okay? You're getting hits of dopamine in your brain when you're looking at your phone, when we're just constantly scrolling, when we're doing stuff on our phone, we're getting the same sort of satisfaction when we're looking at the amount of likes people, how many people like our posts, whatever it is. There's all of these different things that are producing dopamine. We become addicted to our phones. Also, the problem with the phones is that it also moves us into a state of anxiety and pressure, because we're always looking to see if people called us. The things are buzzing, the phone is buzzing, and we end up being in the state where we're always checking and thinking about it. And they've done many studies where they've now seen how the phones are causing anxiety, are causing stress, and people aren't even realizing that it's causing stress and it's causing anxiety in their lives. So there's a lot to be aware of right now in terms of where we're at, if we really, really want to hone in and just to relax and maintain some level of health, some
Mhm.
level of happiness that's not going to be ruined by our fucking phones. I highly recommend for people out there, um, to turn off your notifications. As I'm saying this, I'm hearing notifications. I don't know where it's coming from. But what I personally like to do is I like to turn
Ain't
off the
mine.
notifications on what?
It ain't mine. I have a
It's
setting on
mine,
my
man. I don't
phone.
know where.
Okay.
I've tried to turn it off, and I don't know where it's coming from.
Okay.
But oh yeah, no, I see where it's coming from, and I gotta mute this. It's so funny. As I'm talking about notifications,
You're getting
I'm hearing notifications on my computer. It's not on my phone though.
right.
So what I like to do is I turn off the notifications off my phone. I don't need to see my fucking WhatsApp. All right. Sometimes people get insulted in our day of age. Oh, you haven't answered me in so long, or you haven't answered me. No, my boundaries are my WhatsApp is not on. I don't see it on my phone when I scroll down. When I am ready for that, I will get to that. That way I am in control of what's coming in. your Facebook, the Facebook and your Instagram feeds, if you guys are seeing shit that is negative, if you guys are seeing shit that's not making you feel good, if it's scaring you, if it's giving you bullshit, you can unfollow them. Unfollow it. As you unfollow certain things on your feed.
Sorry, I
What do we
got.
got?
So Rob says he's got to bounce, but he says it's funny that his friend from Israel introduced him to a new friend from Michigan less than 30 minutes ago. It took going across the damn globe to meet somebody who's 20 minutes away.
This is it, man. This is, bro. This is the time. This is the time that we're stepping into, man. This is the world that we're stepping into, and I'm so excited to be doing this, man. It's like to meet a brother from another mother from Michigan who introduces, to my friend, who I have introduced to my friend from Michigan. It's all mixed up. But again, that's the whole Facebook thing, is that you guys can unfollow stuff. It's really important to realize what it is that you're consuming. If we're like, people don't realize how much of our energy is wasted by the thoughts that we are thinking. And if we're thinking negative thoughts, if we're just constantly worrying about stuff, it is sucking up energy. A lot of that flow state, a lot of that feeling, a lot of creating and manifesting, for anybody that's into the law of attraction, and a lot of getting things done has to do with being in a state of emptiness, essentially, being in a state of receiving, being in a state where we're not constantly worrying about it. And this is where the meditation, like you're talking about, really comes into play, is that the practice of practicing, moving my focus, letting go of this particular thought and maybe focusing on something else, or letting go of a particular thought and focusing on the body, just becoming much more aware of the contents of your consciousness, what you are thinking about. Because at the end of the day, like, this will slow people down, I think, more than a lot of things. Because you could eat great, you could exercise, but if I see people doing that, but if they're stuck and they're literally stuck in trauma from years ago, it takes over the body.
Well, two different things with trauma from years ago. I mean, the ways that of meditation, exercising, and then seeking counseling if you need counseling, and things are ways to go past that. But you're absolutely correct about the Facebook notifications, your text message notifications, just constantly being buzzed, being chirped, being, your phone vibrating, whatever the case is. You mentioned earlier a minute ago about likes. Well, likes on your social media are this weird thing has happened since Facebook. I mean, it was what it was. There was something, then there was MySpace, and then Facebook took over the world, and then every aspect of Facebook being kind of put out from there. Instagram, Snap, and all these other things. Whereas now in WhatsApp, and you look for validation of your place and importance in the world by how many likes you get and how many followers you have, which is really, really fucking sad, because most of those people aren't people you even know or even friends. And a lot of times people don't even correspond with each other and have a conversation. They just, I've seen people where they
blah,
have
blah, blah. Here's my opinions. Blah, blah, blah.
They
Fuck
have
you,
a
fuck
video
you.
or a post or a little image or a meme or something like that, and they put something out there, and I can just hear it. I'm about to post something funny, man, I bet this one's gonna blow up. Or you see it TikTok, I don't know if you're on TikTok or not, but there's so many fucking things on there where people will put on there, it's like a video and it says don't let this flop, gotta go viral or something like that. And you have this one person with like 20 followers, and this one video gets 17 million likes, and all of a sudden they're like, yes, I'm finally validated my existence of the world. And then when their next video gets 12 likes, they're like, my life is over, I can't live anymore. It's like, fuck you. Fuck you for even having that attitude. You don't have enough good people in your life that you can call up and talk to. Like, that's the problem, is that we don't look for justification with the personal connections anymore. It's all electronic. And I said it's not mine. So about a year ago, I got a Pixel phone, and it has wellness mode. So if I put it face down on any flat surface, it eliminates any sort of anything. The only thing that will go off is my alarm. If there's an alarm set, if anybody were to call me, text me, notify, whatever, it doesn't do anything. I don't know unless I look at it. So when I'm working, I always, and here's a big thing too about mindfulness and just setting yourself these boundaries, put your phone upside down, shut off your notifications. I mean, iPhones have a little switch, I think, where it just goes silent, right? I don't have an iPhone, so, but just shut that shit off. Set an alarm for 2 hours or whatever, 90 minutes to 2 hours to get your work done. Spend your time with your family, playing games, eat dinner, cook dinner, go for a run, go for a walk, fucking read a book, you know, do something without your notifications and worrying about your notifications. Because there's been, and I can't quote exactly, but research like what you just stated, the rise of social media and notifications of what it is has led to a higher rate of depression, suicide, attempted suicide, and things like that with teenagers and even young adults, because they justify their importance by how many followers, how many likes, how many retweets, and these type of things that they have. And then when they don't get them, they feel like they're not an important part of anything.
Their identity is being pasted upon external, like a fake external validation of some image that doesn't necessarily represent who they are.
Exactly. To build on that, and I go live on my page almost every night now, and I know a lot of people that go live too, and they talk about it. And we do challenges like every 3 months. There's a 2-week challenge that one of my trainers and mentors does on how to create better live videos and just marketing for business and that kind of thing and building a brand. And I've talked to many people that I personally know here in West Michigan, from their kids go to school with my kids or whatever, and I know that they've got their own direct selling business, or they're got their affiliate marketing business or whatever it is. And they say, we don't do these challenges because I noticed that there are fewer followers and fewer likes on my videos when I participate in these challenges and go live every night. I said, well, why is that important? Like, that's building a level of consistency, and as you do it over time, it will go up. But the importance, and I've talked with other people, it's like, I don't give a fuck how many likes I have or how many follows I have. It's the level of engagement and whether or not I'm actually communicating with my audience and building a relationship with that person. Like with you, I'm building a relationship with you by doing this right now. I don't care if 2 people watch this or 200,000 watch this. We're putting valuable information out there. We're strengthening our relationship. I'm going to connect with Rob at some point. I don't know if he's a runner or what, but we'll get together when we're allowed to get together and our governor doesn't give us a $500 ticket when we leave the house, and do something. We're creating friendships, you know what I mean, and relationships from people literally 20 miles away and, 6 time zones away. And that's the importance of it, is just building relationships in life. I feel like that's one of the most important things, and whether it's an intimate relationship with a partner or developing a friendship with anybody. So, and I feel like notifications are the biggest bitch. I mean, my son is 13 and I forbid him for at least 1 hour after he wakes up. Like, you can't even look at your phone. I don't give a fuck what your plan is for that phone. I don't curse at him often, but you're not allowed to look at your phone for 1 hour. You have a book that you can read. You can exercise, you can hit the pull-up bar, you can stretch, you can eat breakfast, you can do anything but look at your phone. Well, Dad, I see you look at your phone. Yep, because I have my meditation app for my breathing. I have my binaural beats visualization app. I have my devotions for my Bible devotions, and then my daily verses that I read, and that's all on my phone. And I have my headphones on, and I'm listening to this stuff as I'm reading through it. Then I put it down. I might grab my book, or I'll hit the pull-up bar, or I'll go for a run. I'll do my HIIT workout. I will do my yoga or whatever. But I'm not tied to my phone. And if I were to look at my Facebook and how many notifications and stuff I have 6 new ones in the last 22 minutes. And it's like, I'll get to them when I get to them. And how many comments do I have, or people messaging me? I'll get to them when I get to them.
This is action, and this is not reaction, right?
It is. It's being in control of it. Like what you had said, is people get that with email too, and that's one of the biggest productivity. It's not even a hack. It's just being productive. When you wake up in the morning, you grab your phone and you immediately jump on your social, and you're like, how many people did respond to this thing overnight? I don't give a shit, because I have my morning to put me in control of my day. And if I'm constantly reacting to things,
bro, it's addiction.
That's your addiction, and that's your
it's feeding an ego. I know the feeling, because I know what it's like. I know to want to look at it.
And it leads you to that constant state of anxiety and that constant state of depression. Like, you have to, like, oh my God, I got to respond to 33 people. I got to do it right now. And then all of a sudden you're anxious. Then your cortisol goes up. Your cortisol spikes. It causes a temporarily weakened immune system, and you can become you can
Sick.
build like a cortisol, almost like a resistance to the stress hormone, like a stress resistance where, the level of stress that you once thought, it takes double that to actually become very, very
So
stressed.
this is a lot of what's happening. So this
Yeah.
is exactly what I was talking about in regards to, the notifications and stuff like that. And what's happening with a lot of people in the States is that you become so accustomed to living in a state of fight or flight. Like this is what we're saying here is that it becomes natural. It
Mhm.
becomes, being in this state of higher levels of cortisol,
Yep.
is a set, because again, that's the hormone that's being pumped
Yep.
when people are in states of fight or flight.
Yep.
And originally this was used for, our bodies were creating this to help us escape a situation, or
Yep.
or defeat an enemy, and
Yep.
or defeat a lion in the savannas. But now we are living in a completely different environment that's triggering the same substances in our body, the same hormones, the same chemicals, and we need to know what to do in order to alleviate,
Yep.
the negative impact of things like this.
Yep. Adam agrees.
Yeah.
He says his phone lives on silent, but it's still in his hands too much. My phone is never on audible mode. It's always on vibrate. And usually when I'm sitting somewhere doing something, it's face down, because the wellness app that comes built in with Google phones, you
Yeah.
can set it to where if you put it face down, it won't notify you. You can also have it, it has like shutdown mode where between a certain amount of time, your phone you can still play music on your streaming playlist or whatever, or YouTube, but you won't get notified of any text messages, Facebook messages, anything like that. Even if you have all notifications on, the phone itself will override those and it won't let them come through, and you can set timeline
You could also
limitations
turn
on
that
those.
shit off.
Yeah, and you can also just turn all that off. And what I do again for my sons too is he has I think he gets 2 hours a day on his phone, and then everything just stops working. And he can have access to the phone and then text message in case he needs to text me or a family member or call us for something. But he doesn't have access to Spotify. He doesn't have access to his apps or any of these kind of things. But
Is
what
this
we
an
can
app that
do,
you've set up?
it's in the iPhone. All phones have it. They have time limitation. Parental controls is basically what it is. You can go into the settings. You can set a password so that way they can't adjust them. And then it's a 4-digit password or a thumbprint or whatever on your iPhone or Samsung or whatever. And you can limit the amount of time that you have on your phone. And you can do it. Like I did it on my phone once for a month as an experiment, to see how much time I was spending on Snapchat, how much time I was spending on Instagram. And by noon of every day, like I put 1 hour on each app. By noon of every day, I was already at my hour of every app. And I was like, fuck off, man. It's like noon. I've got 11 more hours before I go to bed. I can't use these apps because I've already hit my daily time limit. And it put a perspective on me as like, I'm using this motherfucker way too much. I need to chill out.
So let's hear some tips, man. I'm interested in hearing for somebody that's gonna using Facebook or Instagram, for our businesses,
Set
my
time limit.
my coaching work, and for
Set time
you,
limit. That's it. Set time
set a
limit.
time limit
Set time limit,
for.
and it's not even set a time limit of how many hours you're going to be on. If you want to be, if you're building your business, your coaching business, your health business, your whatever the hell you're selling or doing on there, set a time limit. Like I'm going to be on from 4 p.m. until 6 p.m. Monday through Friday, and not do anything on Saturday, and then on Sunday from 7 until 9 p.m. or whatever. Like that's your time limit. Set a timer. I have a tab open somewhere where I have this. It's really funny because it scares the shit out of me. It's one of those old school, like those old Acme
Death
cartoon
watches.
bombs where it has like
Okay.
a black bomb with a big wick on it, and I put a time limit on it, and then when I click play, and I go about my stuff. I flip my phone over. I have music in the background, and I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm talking to people. I'm posting content. I'm doing whatever it is that I'm doing for work or whatever activity. Writing an article. Creating content. And when that goes off, it doesn't matter if I'm right in the middle of it. I click stop. I hit pause, and if I need to continue it the next day, I close it out. I write it in my planner, like I need to finish this the next day, or it's like that's my 2 hours for the day. I set the time limit. Now that's one example of one thing. Now, if you're at work, and as an example, you're working from home and you still have to work 8 hours a day, my advice and what I found worked best for me, anywhere between 30 minutes and 120 minutes do blocks of time of that. And then after that time goes off, if you set it for every 30 minutes, you're going to be concentrated, 100% focused on your work. Put away all the distractions.
Yeah.
Put your phone away. Tell everybody that you're not available for that amount of time. And then when that timer goes off, pause what you're doing, reset it, go get a cup of coffee. If you drink coffee, get some tea, refill your water bottle, go walk up and down the stairs a few times, go outside, walk around your house, go spend a few minutes with your child or whoever you live with, or if it's just you, do something, don't grab your phone.
5 minutes, right?
Do
So
5 to 10
yeah,
minutes. Now it's been studied and it's been researched in Japanese
up to
cultures. It's
55
very
minutes.
common, like between 60 and 120 minutes in Japanese culture. It's been studied where they no, not Japanese. This is flow, again, from the Flow Genome Project. To achieve a state of flow, you have to eliminate all distractions in order to get into that state. And there's like 8 triggers. I did a live video on it a week ago. 8 triggers to get into the flow state. And if you get out of that flow state by responding to a distraction, it takes anywhere from 12 to 24 minutes to get back into a flow state. And at that point, you might already have that time where you're like, oh, my 30 minutes is up or my 60 minutes is up. Now I have to take a 10-minute break, set my brain away from work and just look outside, look at the birds. If you live close enough to water, look at the ocean. Do something to unplug and get away from technology and get away from your work. Go outside and walk around the house for 10 minutes, sit outside and stare at the fucking trees or whatever. Just do something that takes you away from anything associated with work for 10 minutes and then get back to it. And it's been proven through research that will make you more effective. And you're like, well, I'm taking 10-minute breaks every 60 minutes.
No, more breaks are important.
I'm losing so much time throughout the day. Well, you're taking time away from your activity that's related to work, but it will make you more productive because you're being more deliberate and focused in the time that you are working, rather than if you're working for 6 straight hours and every 30 seconds you respond to a notification, or every 30 seconds you have to pick up the phone and see who texted you, or that kind of thing, because that wastes so much more time. And then your brain shifts its attention to whatever it is over here, and then it has to shift its attention back to what you're doing here over and over and over and over again, and you're fucking yourself up because you're not getting your shit done. So
let's cover that for a second. I mean, I'm interested in hearing. So basically, we talked about the 55-minute breaks, because I actually heard Brendan Burchard speaks about the same thing. Up to 55 minutes, he won't work past 55 minutes.
No.
And we'll get up and I'll do the same thing. I'll set my block for 55 minutes, get up, change my environment, change the energy. You want to create a new energy. And then step back into whatever it is that you want to do. I mean, because that will allow you to be much more effective, and you will be able to get into that flow state. So, if you want to sum that up in a few different steps over here, I really liked what we were just talking about. I like the idea of turning off. Is it turning off the phone? Creating blocks. Can you sum that up for us?
Yeah, so if you've got a space where you can be isolated from everything else and kind of get away from like essentially an open floor plan, where if you have a kitchen and a dining room that are combined, and people in your home are going to be going into the kitchen, getting food and that kind of thing, that is a terrible environment for you, because that creates another level of distraction where you're just there. When you wake up, you have to take control of the day. And we talked about meditation and having your morning routine and morning ritual. And then you start your day, make sure that you have, what I always do is the night before, I have my next day already planned. So when I fire up my computer, my shit's already there. The tabs are already open. Whatever needs to happen is already there, and I just have to get started. And a lot of it and Brendan Burchard is a great one too. I forget what he called the process, but like for 10 or 15 seconds before you, like if you're ending one thing and going into the next, be deliberate about it and say, I'm ending this step of responding to emails, and for the next hour, like you physically say it to yourself, I'm going to do this for the next hour, because it shifts your mind from that to that. But it's really about, it's not in a like obsessively controlling things, but it almost is, because if you don't take control of your own day, other people will slide their way into it.
Oh, this is 150%. Absolutely.
So set blocks of time that you're working where your phone is off or off notifications. When that time is up, whether it's 30 minutes, 60 minutes, I've gone up to 120 minutes before. turn everything off, walk away, get away from your work environment, take a few minutes and do your thing. And then here's the thing too, is email is always something that happens. Email is always something that you have to respond to. Don't respond to every single email that comes through, because that is in the same level as responding to or looking at every text message that comes through. Set times where maybe from 8 to 8:10 in the morning, you respond, you go to email and you're like, okay, now I'm done. And then you can do your calls if you're in a sales environment or build your business or you're learning or whatever. And then again at noon from 12 to 12:15, you respond to emails, chunks of time. Controlling the chunks of time that you're doing activities is probably one of the most important things that you can do throughout the day, because you'll still be just as effective. You'll be probably 5 times more effective, and you're going to get back to the people that you need to get back to. They know that you're going to get back to them. And if they have a problem with the way that you do it, just let them know, like, this is how I actively work my day. The job will get done, the work will get done, and I will never fail to get it done. And if you have a boss that's constantly checking up on you and they say, hey, did you see this email? Yes, boss, I did. I respond at this time and this time throughout the day. If it's more important than that, they'll send me another email and I'll address it as necessary. But it's just controlling those times, I guess, in a summary of it. Controlling the times of day that you're doing the work. And that
time blocking, yeah.
That page that you mentioned, whether you're a bear or a wolf or a dolphin or whatever, like, that's fucking awesome. I started to take that quiz almost immediately. I was like, oh, I know that. And then I stopped. It was like, again, I noticed myself getting distracted from our conversation. So I was like, I'll do it later. And I posted it in the comments. So anybody else who's watching this. And Adam, as far as how much is too much, I don't know what you're talking about. Are you talking about how much time is too much to spend on your phone, or how much time is too much to not be on your phone? So let me know, Adam, what you're specifically talking about there. But even taking, every 55 minutes, taking 5 minutes of mindfulness, shut your fucking eyes, shut everything off, and set an alarm for 5 minutes. And then when it goes off, you can kind of slide right back into it. So, and then when your day is done, man, celebrate. If you got everything done at the end of the day, celebrate. You know what it is? Like, jump up and down, pump your fist in the air, get your blood flow going. Like, I did it. I absolutely did it. You know what I mean? If your thing is to have 1 scoop of ice cream, have a scoop of ice cream. Again, it all goes back to like the food and serotonin production and that kind of thing, but don't just grab a big fat cheeseburger. How much is too much to be on the phone? That's a personal
We're getting 1 second here. What's happening here?
Celebrate your small wins all day, every day.
So this is something else that we should really mention, is celebrating your small wins and rewarding yourself. And Adam and I had this conversation also, and he said to me, actually said, what do you use? Like, what are some wins that how do you celebrate your wins? How do you reward yourself? And well, it's a matter of figuring it out. I personally, I'm somebody that might like attention. I'm somebody that might like some level of connection. So if I find myself being distracted at any point in time, and I see that there's a bad habit there, and maybe I'm, I'll set a timer, I'll become aware of it. And then after, when I've completed the task, I'll allow myself that give myself the pleasure of that connection, or whatever that attention is going to be. For some other people, it's going to be something else. It might be, running around the block. It might be meditation, whatever it is. But it's really important to reward yourself. You've got to reward yourself, and then it creates, and it helps connect the loop of that habit.
Again, with that is you have to know yourself, and if you don't, learn about yourself and what really truly brings you joy and pleasure, and then that will be your reward. For you, it might be, maybe you get your stuff done and you can sit there for 10 minutes and watch a funny thing on YouTube to make you laugh, whatever, a comedy bit. You
know what I'll do? Actually, another reward for myself, the UFC videos. I mean, I love,
there you go, man. UFC.
I love MMA.
So
I love MMA. So I'm always like, that's my crack.
So here's my thing is, I played guitar for nearly 20 years, and sometimes I'll just grab be like, all right, I'm done. I'm just gonna grab my guitar. I'm gonna dink around on it a little bit. And on another level, which I think is way more fun, I'll throw on some metal and I will air drum like nobody's business to some metal. And if anybody walks in the room, they're just like, all right, I'm out. But I will have like, I'll have Metallica or Slayer or even something heavier on it, and I'll just be air drumming and be like, hey, I'm done with the day. I got it. That's my celebration.
It's important. It's important if you are trying to create a work schedule and you're working in one space to move yourself out though. You don't want to stay in the same spot. It's really important.
You gotta leave because so here's another thing too is I refuse to allow my workspace and my sleeping space to be in the same room. I refuse because I don't want those to ever be correlated and put together in one place. I don't ever want my desk to be 10 feet away from my bed unless it's absolutely dire situation. I mean, I had that situation when I was going through the divorce where my office was my bed. I slept on the couch for like, I don't know, a couple months until I got a place, but separate that out. You have your own personal space and then you have your workspace and make sure that they're different. This is everyone's workspace in this house. So there's workspace back there, there's video game stuff over here, and then there's my workspace, which is right in front of me. And Adam, you have to figure out what too much is, man. I try to say, 2 to 3 hours maybe, and that's it. And then if you
too much of what?
Being on your phone every day.
I think it's when you're constantly checking it. I think it's less about sometimes, I think it's less about the amount of time. Obviously you don't want to overdo it, but it's more about how much am I reacting to that? Meaning if I'm checking it all the time, if I feel like I need to check it every 10 minutes, I feel like I need to check it every 30 seconds, which is what happens usually with most people. That I think is the too much. If it's like, if I'm giving myself 2 hours or something like that in the daytime, then that's, and I've set aside 2 hours for that. Fine. Let that be your time that you're checking in, you have to know yourself. Again, it can be like watching a movie, whatever it is, but I think it's less about the amount, unless it's unless it's clear amount, that's just too much.
I'll agree with that. Yeah, you have to know yourself.
It's more about how you're reacting to that and how it's affecting your day. Are you becoming more reactive or are you active? Are you being proactive with what's happening?
Yeah, set it aside and pick it up when you need to pick it up. Don't pick it up every 30 seconds or every 45 seconds or every minute to see if somebody's texted you or called you. At that point, that's really an addiction type of thing right there, where it's like doing a line of cocaine, like every 5 minutes, every 10 minutes, you gotta smoke a joint or whatever. It's like, you can't wake up in the morning without smoking a joint, and it does nothing to do with your pain level and how it relieves that. It's just you get in your head like, I need to do this in order to have an effective day.
I just want to be honest here. It's just really straightforward here, because like we're I don't know about you, I don't know what your situation is, Jeff, but me personally, ADD as fuck. Yeah. And so especially right now with this situation, like when I'm with my kids and whatever it is, it's very, I get that craving. I'm getting that craving constantly, check the phone. I want to look at it. I want to look at it, So, setting it aside and just turning it off and saying, right now, this is the time I'm not looking at it, is always the best way to go. Because I think that especially right now that we're in that this is a relatively stressful time, that there's more of a pull to do that, because it gives us, it causes us anxiety and stress, but it's also giving us that high.
Like you said, that dopamine hit on there. So here's the thing too, is being on your phone as much as it is in the time that we live in right now with the negativity and things surrounding COVID-19, is when we pick up the phone, a lot of times we're going to see an overwhelming barrage of negative stuff, and that's just going to further intensify our anxiety. When you constantly are feeding your brain with negative shit, whether it's intentional or unintentional, that's what you're going to continue to get. That's how your mindset is going to kind of shift into that level. And with Adam, what he's saying is like most of the day it's either on the phone, on the TV, or both at the same time. Try to isolate those activities as a piece of advice. If you're going to watch TV, put your phone in the other room, and then and just even put it as a couple minutes. If you're checking your phone every 30 seconds, give yourself the grace and start small. It's like being a hardcore addict to something that is like meth, coke, heroin, whatever it is, alcohol. give yourself a little grace and start small. Don't say I'm going cold turkey and I'm never going to do this again. If you can, great, but take those small steps and say, I'm not going to do anything until noon. Not that I condone, all of a sudden you're going to
With
go
an
crazy, but
hour.
just start
I personally
yourself
think
with,
an
yeah,
hour,
start yourself with,
you
10
get to
minutes.
check it every hour. Let's go. Let me check. I'm going to check
Yeah,
my phone
check it every hour.
once an hour. If I'm not, when I'm not using it, then I turn it off and I put it aside,
Yeah.
you
And as
know,
far as that app, Adam, hit me up afterwards, man. I don't know. Do you have what kind of phone do you have, Josh?
Android.
Okay. So if you want to connect Adam, I'll connect with you. I'll show you how to go through that pixel wellness thing where you can kind of set the limits in the evening, and then when you turn it upside down, it doesn't even notify you. But you gotta start somewhere and say, I'm going to give myself an hour without looking at it, and then I'll look at it and I'll respond as needed, and just see how you feel after that hour. And if your anxiety kind of goes up, then it's going to, because you're so used to doing that activity already, and then all of a sudden you have to shift that activity where it's going to take a little bit of time. I mean, an addiction is addiction, whether it's your social media addiction, your phone addiction, nicotine and cigarettes, alcohol, cocaine, sex, whatever the hell your addiction is, pornography, it's still an addiction, and you have to slowly work to it. But you really have to, and the fact that you're talking about this shows me that you at least have a level of interest in desire and concern to want to stop doing that. And it becomes a thing. Eventually it'll get to a point where, like, you're replacing that with something positive, like what Josh and I do. We work out almost every single day, and that's kind of your mind. You meditate, you read, you have your devotions, you have your breath work, you have whatever you have to replace that overwhelmingly, I got to check my phone, I got to check my email, I got to check my socials, I got to do this, I got to do that. Because if it's something that's causing your anxiety to spike constantly, that is so bad for you. I mean, all the way up to the things of like premature death. I'm talking heart disease, I'm talking about fucking chronic anxiety disorders, general anxiety disorders, depression, you know what I mean? So many bad things can happen from that you've got to replace those with something that's going to feed you and make you feel good, not on a level of validation of like, hey, I got a like, but just things that will make you feel, and you'll know the feeling like,
Good about yourself.
my life is great. I'm fine by myself. The sun is shining, the birds are out, and life is just fucking good, and I have control over my day. I don't need to look at my phone all the fucking time.
These are things that help create a strong sense of self.
Mm-hmm.
These are things that really help build your character, they help you build your identity, they help you build things that really help you be unshakable, because those are important things for yourself.
Yeah.
And
Just like you've got a board behind you, I mean, Adam, if you got a board in your house, man, put on there like, I am not going to look at my phone for an hour. And I'm telling you, there's something about head to hand and putting it on paper where it's easier to do it. And if you operate on a Google Calendar, an Outlook calendar, get a fucking physical calendar and write that shit there so you don't have to check your phone. Get a physical manifestation of whatever it is. I got a calendar here. I got my planner here. I got another calendar over here. I mean, I'm never far enough away from what I know I need to do that I'm going to forget what I need to do. And I know that I got to put it down because it never sticks in here. I know if I just leave it to my brain to remember it, I'm not going to. And that's why my phone is like my last resort type of thing. So.
All right. Amazing. Jeff, we have another question?
Just comments from Adam here, and like he understands some of these things that he needs to do. It's getting in his way of being successful. So I think that we can give you some further solutions on these more on a personal kind of a one-to-one type of thing. I think maybe we need to understand a little bit more. And I mean, there's a lot going on outside of that it's a little more challenging than just to put down your phone. You know what I mean?
Listen,
So
see, this is one of the things that I like to help, and that when I coach people, often that we come across is that sometimes there's these cycles. We have these negative feedback loop cycles where we'll do something, we'll know it's not good for us, and believe it or not, we've become so accustomed to doing it that we almost become dependent on it. It's strange, but like you were talking about, there's levels of stress that we're at. There's, like you said, that we're become we've become essentially dependent on these levels of of stress hormones that are coming through our body, and breaking out of that loop is uncomfortable.
It is.
Breaking out of a loop that is, that doesn't feel good, is uncomfortable, and that's what I mean by becoming dependent on such factors. So these are all things that we can talk about, and I think we're ready to head for a close over here, and
Yeah, yeah.
share
I
some
would say
more.
real quick
Yeah.
in closing there with that, Adam, you just got to come up with a solution on that. And meditation that both Josh and I had talked about will kind of help get your mind right, get your mind straight, and to help get ahead of your anxiety before it gets into you and takes over and takes control. Because I don't know about you, Josh, but I suffered from that for a long time, and I've rectified a lot of the situations and changed a lot of the things. Like I said, it took me some time, but it's doable and it's possible to do it. And I've listened to enough podcasts and read enough books about very, very successful people. And if success is one of those desires and goals that you have, and you know that this is preventing that, so many of these people attribute to a daily practice of meditation, some type of meditation, as one of the major factors that led to them being successful. So I can't say it's just one
Over
thing.
and over and over
That's
again. Yeah.
one thing that can help, but it's not the only thing that will help. So, yeah, I think we're about, what's it been, 2.5 hours?
Yeah, bro, we're almost like a Joe Rogan.
I honestly, man, I was like, I don't know if I got enough content and enough, to speak about that. I'm going to fill 20 minutes. And you're like, oh, at least an hour. I was like, well, we'll see what happens. And here we are, double that time, triple
This
that
is what
time.
it's like, bro. Once you get on, you get on with the good vibes. We got lots of information to share, and we're enjoy it. And people ask questions. I thought it was incredible. Tons of value over here. I think there's a lot of other stuff that can be talked about too in the future, and I'm just happy to have you on here, Jeff. And Jeff, if you could mention, I know that you have a business that you are helping with, help people build their microbiome health. Am I correct?
Yeah,
I'm
so
saying
I thank you for this opportunity, Josh. Thanks for letting me come on here, speak about some of the things that I know, some of the things that I'm learning about, and just ultimately creating value for the men in this group, and then just men everywhere, to truly kind of make a difference, make that shift, mindset, and then physical health shift. So I'm plugged in. My company, I operate a group on Facebook. It's called the Peak Elite Health Group, and it's all designed for cardiovascular, heart health, and then gut and microbiome health, because these are key areas that, as we previously mentioned, are major factors in determining how healthy you actually are. And when you look at the numbers and data and statistics, the number one killer, at least in America and probably globally, is heart disease. Various forms of heart disease, whether it's heart attacks, coronary artery disease, cardiovascular disease, arrhythmia, all these different things. So our company focuses on helping people naturally heal their heart, and then naturally heal and reset their biome. So it's filled with the good, positive bacteria, and balancing that back out to help your body, your immune system, become stronger and more resilient to these different things. So you can reach out to me. My company is Lambert's Group. The group is called Peak Elite Health. It's an organization. It's a community of people that are like-minded, that want to heal their bodies naturally without taking antibiotics, or in addition to, and finding a more natural way without the side effects of drugs and these other things, and just helping each other become better, become stronger mentally, physically, and as a group, and sometimes spiritually. So yeah, just reach out to me. We have a variety of different supplements to help with heart and help with gut.
absolutely. And for everybody on the mindset and on the habits and on the daily and on your own personal development, please feel free to reach out to me with any questions and any help that you guys need. We have just launched the single dad program for single dads who want to step into their true selves, who want to step into, really take advantage of the power and the gifts that they were born into. And I'm happy to have anybody reach out to me in regards to that. And we actually are also coming up with more content for the group, and we're going to be working on some other projects to be able to provide some group coaching
Mhm.
for the men, that we can get together and we can get healthy physically, mentally, and be there and be accountable for each other, because this is one of the biggest things about that. So any questions, happy to guys send it over to us. Again, we're here on the group. I also want to mention that Jeff is also one of the mentors on the group, so feel free to reach out also and say hello.
Mhm.
And as you guys post, Jeff is here on the group and he's present, and so am I, and sending a lot of love and health to everyone out there, and more than happy to help with whatever it is that you guys need. So I hope you guys have a great day, great night, wherever it is that you are.
Thank you.
All right, guys.